So howdy y'all, and welcome to the Stay Creative podcast, a show I started because I love being creative and talking about creativity with people. People use creativity in a variety of ways. Some are seeking to make a career, others create to understand their own thoughts and feelings better, and some simply enjoy or find peace or are fulfilled in making sound or visual art with their own will and finding a way to share that with others. It's my goal to give all of these intentions a voice here, and so that we can talk about why we do these things, a little bit of how we do these things, so that other people know no two people do it the same way, no two people do it for the same reason, and that's part of what makes it beautiful. First up today, we're going to be talking with the fantastically adventurous TVLA. If you want to wave so everybody sees it. Yeah, there we go. Then we will move on to the master of melody and poetry, RIELLE. You want to wave, RIELLE? Yeah, perfect, even better. We had another guest, but I'm going to skip over them for now because they seem to be MIA. Maybe they'll pop in later, who knows. And then finally, my pop metal hybrid brother from across the holler, Starcry, Dixie Flatline, the one and only. I'm going to call you the PIX3LARMY General as well. We'll add that title to your...
That works. I like it.
To you.
At least one of them.
Yeah. Man, thank you guys again. Thank you, guests for being here, for talking with me, for taking some time to share not only your art, but, some of your experience. There's a chance you're going to share things that other people will hear and say, I thought I was the only one, and I think that is an important conversation for artists and musicians and just creative people to constantly have, that we're not alone. Even when nobody's listening, somebody's listening. But yeah, before I get too far into my shamanistic nonsense, let's give you each a moment to introduce yourself and maybe the stuff you're working on right now. Maybe it's something that's already out. Maybe it's something that we're looking forward to. We'll start with TVLA. Tell us some more about yourself and your project.
What would you like to know? Where should I start? The music I'm working on now?
Well,
or the music I sent you?
When did you start making music?
I started making music in about 1983 as a Suzuki violin student, playing on a cardboard box with rubber bands that looked like a violin. I did that for a while, and then adolescence happened, and I decided I didn't want to be caught dead carrying a violin around. So I picked up electric guitar and played in a high school band, and then stopped, and then just sort of had music in my life for on and off, but mostly off for quite a while because adulthood happened. I had to get a career and had kids and the whole other catastrophe. And then although I've had bands along the way, this last lockdown period and finding basically Flora, Lynn, who was a guest of this program, and then IMF in that order were what really got it going. I mean, Flora, we met on Reddit, and it just was one of those great collaborations where it just took the right person to be like, no, finish the track. No, seriously, don't just give up, like actually finish the song. And so we did, and that EP we finally released. It took years to get out because we both had to, in the middle of it, was kind of hilarious at the beginning, and I hope Flora doesn't mind me saying my version of it, which was that, like, we found herself and she was writing to me like, oh, well, you're this producer who does that. And I remember writing to my brother and just being like, man, this woman I met keeps calling me a producer. Am I one of those? And she said to me what I said to RIELLE earlier, which was like, dude, if somebody calls you a producer, you're a producer. That's how it happens.
Yeah.
And so then IMF happened, and then it just sort of steamrolled from there. And now I've just had so many great collaborators and projects, and it's just, it's been such a great year or two.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, and I do. We'll get back to talking some more about the that EP you did with Flora Lynn, because that is beginning to end phenomenal work on both of your parts. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, we had a fun time making it, and it really it turned both of us into, well, I can't speak for Flora, but it definitely, I went into that thinking like, I heard there's a way to fiddle around with music on a computer, and I came out of it like actively calling myself a musician, which is dope.
That's fantastic.
I haven't done that in a long time.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. We'll move over. RIELLE, do you want to tell us some more about yourself? You have been on the show once before, but let's pretend people haven't heard that one, and just tell me some about how you started making music and what you're working on now.
Sure. So I started off as a musician. I was so young when I started to play the saxophone. It was like my everything. I loved jazz music. I played in band, jazz ensemble. I did vocal jazz, and I kept playing saxophone through college. And I picked up the guitar eventually because I wanted to be able to accompany myself at open mics. So that was like my main thing for a while. And then I won't say life got in the way. I just, I didn't have time to sing as much as I loved singing. For the amount of passion I have for music, it was unfortunate for how little I was spending time with it. Fast forward, some crazy things happen in life, and then it's like we're in the middle of the pandemic, and I ended up on Reddit, and then I found indie music feedback. And I kind of just started taking myself more seriously when it came to writing music, singing, recording. And it was pretty crazy for me because I don't think I ever gave myself the chance that in the back of my mind I always wanted. So once I realized that my favorite way to communicate was through music, which I kind of always knew, but maybe I just didn't give it the chance, and I did. And it's important to take a chance on yourself. It may be out of your comfort zone, but you're being honest with yourself. You might be vulnerable, but I feel like that's what makes music, that feeling of vulnerability and, being in touch with yourself, and then you can connect to other people that way. So that's what I've been trying to do with my music since I decided to just go for it, which I totally have. And it's been so fun and I love it. I make myself crazy when I do it, but hey, you know what? It's okay. You can feel the feeling in the music, I guess.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's been really interesting hearing your like full written songs and hearing the personality and the vulnerability in your writing, but then also seeing you on Instagram, seeing, at times like cover songs type stuff, other people's lyrics, but there's still a personality and a character that you bring to that still feels like a genuine vulnerability, a genuine, expression. So I think that's excellent. I really enjoy how you bring that to everything you do.
Yeah, I know how I feel when I write my lyrics. So whenever I sing somebody else's song, I try to really put myself, like, I don't think I can sing it without feeling it. Like, if I'm singing something without feeling it, you don't want to listen to it. It's not going to be, it's not going to work.
For sure. Well, let's move up to our dear friend Starcry, Dixie Flatline, PIX3LARMY. I'm giving it all away.
All of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above.
Tell me. You've been on the show a few times before. I think this officially makes you like the crowned champion of Stay Creative guests because this is your third appearance.
Come at me, bros.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I mean, just to kind of go around with what everybody was saying. I borrowed a guitar at age 14 from my cousin, and I was gone. I would come home from school at about 4 o'clock and be out in the garage playing until 10.
Nice.
Most days. That was kind of what I did. Did my first EP at age 15 with a Tascam 4-track. Did my first album at age 18 with Acid Pro. I'm dating myself a little bit here. Using Acid Pro. And then, from there, just done any number of things. Been, doing in the box DAW production for a very long time now. But to kind of jive with what people are saying about the pandemic. The pandemic wasn't for me like, oh, maybe I should get more serious about this music thing. It was more of a situation of, oh, wow, I suddenly have a lot of time to do some music stuff.
Yeah.
This is pretty great. I'm going to take advantage of this. So that's been great, and then threw some songs out into the abyss. Got a message on Reddit from what I later found out was PAX's bot. And I was like, oh, somebody cares. But no, it was a robot. Kidding. So that
somebody
you
cared
know, then
enough to make a robot.
somebody cared enough to make a robot
To go into the wasteland of Reddit and find survivors, you know?
Just even more care.
Yeah.
No, but it was great because I joined the Discord. Like, I went to the Reddit, was like, all right, this is cool. Oh, there's a Discord. I had just installed Discord. Oh no, I lost the thing.
You're contaminated now, bro.
All right. I went to the Discord because I just installed it for something else and was like, okay, cool. And I've probably been there 23 hours of every day since April.
Yeah.
Like last year, April.
Yeah. It's always.
All right, I'm gonna repair my mask.
Yeah, take your time. I was gonna say, like, it's always there. It's so easy to be like, well, I'm walking from one room to another. May as well check IMF, you know.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah. Thanks for sharing all that, man. It's crazy how I hear over and over again people share that, like, they found an opportunity in what otherwise could have been a very depressing time, you know, an isolating time, a disruption of all of our routines and habits and our favorite things and our least favorite things, you know. And people, not all, and there's no shame if people, you know, found it easier to just sleep in when isolation started. But I'm very impressed by the things that some people have been able to create, you know, in their newfound time and newfound opportunity there. But yeah, we speaking of creating, I would like to take some time to get into the first song we're going to be sharing today. Am I close enough to my mic? Can you guys hear me? I just realized my face.
Yeah, you sound good.
My face feels huge on the screen, so I'm trying to get further from the screen.
You can move. I'll move mine closer.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I just
move mine closer.
I'm 9 feet tall, you guys. But yeah, I want to get to the first song we're going to be listening to. TVLA. We will talk to you some more about it and about your your highs and lows. It's kind of the theme of what I like to talk about on the show this season. After it, but would you like to tell me some? Just kind of introduce the song. If you can't, if now's not a very good moment, that's okay. We can.
Muting to deal with life, but
yeah, I understand.
This song is one of the sillier things I've done in a minute, and I decided to share it because it's staying creative is what it was all about, basically. So the origin was basically, I was trying to help out Duri and Flora with the Cosmoverse track, which we mentioned before. Mm-hmm. And I sort of came in on one track, and then I don't know what got into me, but I was just like, never having done it in my life, I was like, what if I rap?
Yeah.
And so I threw down some bars on that song in the character of a space squid, because that's the Cosmoverse and that, which I'm talking about this conscious that I owe you stems, Duri. I hear you. I see you.
Yeah.
I validate your concern. But
what are you doing on the podcast when you got stems to be sending somebody?
So I decided to rap, and then I was like, that was fun, but like, it's a space squid, and I hate it when, frankly, I hate it when especially white people who don't rap just sort of jump in and start throwing a bunch of signs and acting. And I was like, what if I really tried? Like, what if I really tried to rap? Like, as best I can at the age of 44. I've never done it before in my life.
Yeah.
And so I did, and it was kind of fun. And then I did it based on this poem, which is based on Alexander Vaught poem, who's a Polish poet who was, I think, picked up on the streets of Krakow in like the 30s by Stalin's guys and just sent all across Central Asia to Uzbekistan and through these prison camps and everything. And he wrote this crazy poem, slightly Orientalist, but great poem about the premise is he's going down a river and he sees a skull on the riverbank, and the skull lets out this cry, and he thinks, what the hell could the skull be afraid of? What has the skull got to fear? And the helmsman looks at him with his hollow voice and says, nothing is ever over. There's no bottom to evil. And that's the poem. And so there's this other sound, the supplication. So great was its despair. And those are the lyrics that I took from the poem, made it into the chorus of a rap song. And then somebody was like, you should have a video for a podcast. So I was like, let me make a video.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be really fun. Man, so that's what I got to say about this.
That's fantastic. I really enjoy this song. I enjoy this video, but I'm gonna have to dig up that poem as well. I link
it in the YouTube. So
awesome,
if you look,
I got the shivers. I got the shivers from that that line you shared from it. So thank you. But yeah,
that was the keeper.
Yeah, let's listen to it, man. I'm gonna
All right, I'll
switch
mute.
over to that now.
The revolution will be live streamed. Check restrictions in your area. But go on, ignore my warning. I double dog, I triple dog dare you. There's trouble in the world and it scares you. But we live in troubled times, and there's a company on the internet and they're playing cards like they're woke, and they got ground up approaches that center all our dreams and our hopes and the impact of intersectional discrimination on black bodies that turns people into others with funding from brothers like Coke. What a fucking joke. I mean, that's like being offered a 2-for-1 deal. When you're so fucking broke, you're finna steal from you. And when we start the revolution, all you probably do is squeal. So look, a couple of you have written in on different types of electronic communication technology. They're effectively all the same. They're just branded differently to say that my lyrics are given to excessive or even ludicrous frivolity. Is it that supposed to bother me? Or even Reggie? But look, if you insist, let's get serious then. Go on, take all of me. And allow me to bring my eloquence to bear on the question of the settlements. They said, look, the bride's beautiful, but she's already married in the room, an elephant. You knew that. But you got carried away and now you speak my name. Why you gotta do that? In the name of those whose memories I carry, screw that. How very dare you, sir? We won't be on the same side to the literal Nazis here. Literally. Which quite frankly, Anne, could be relatively shortly, like any day or any year, historically speaking. Allegorically, perhaps, we're peaking. As a people. Only time will tell, so fuck it. We hang together or we hang separately. Better yet, cut the tree. Smart guy. Always will be. Listen, where I sit is clear, the game's not played honestly, it's dastardly. They'll find your weakness in your family and they'll do it for money. They'll kill you 3 times before you hit the ground and forget you even died. And you'll stand there like a fool, like Temba, his arms wide. And you know, it's like maybe all those cigars and cars and sushi bars and those little fish eggs, you know, in jars. Like maybe where you end up eventually is where you actually are. Doesn't look that bad. I mean, you got swimming pool, private schools, cocktails, easy chair, try to play fair most of the time if you can, I mean. Except the careers of other MCs that go straight to my spam folder. It's just a bunch of empty words with no meaning, like shrink wrap terms and conditions or Attorney General Eric Holder. You think they're coming down for the top like Mariana to save us? I guess something inside of y'all died when you started dealing as slaves, because we know about the supply chains of tuna from Thailand, but it's lunchtime, and it's prime time for thinking about the other hand, and not the other guy. Which is cool, I guess. So long as you shine your eyes and confront it like a Marakaba. 3, 2, 1, hut like Jabba. I'll give you one last laugh, then I'll make you stick your tongue out, he says, confidently, though secretly plagued by self-doubt. Like, will people understand and attach the right meanings to my words? Or is it fundamentally immoral to live by the pen when so many die for the sword? But far be it for me to center my white fragility. At a time when we're still imposing our hegemony militarily, let's get Gaza free. Then we can worry about me and my personal journey from Krakow to Tashkent. What? That's Alexander, but trust, it's highly relevant to the times in which we live and the necessity of collective action like Bivens. Because nothing is ever given, at least not freely, which is why we punch Nazis, which is correct morally, if not strategically. But that question is moot. Look, I understand it's far more fun to knock jaws than change laws or join the cause or even put on a suit. Personally, I've always felt the fact that we're descended from monkeys should give us pause, at least temporarily. But change is not the enemy. That's stasis. Weed adopts truth, so put your money where your face is and eat it.
Whoops. I just clicked another video by mistake. Hold on. I love it. Every single thing about that. And it's funny. I've watched it so many times now, and I almost didn't. I was so like just in the lyrics or in the video. Like every time I watched it, something new.
I can mute. Sorry.
Oh yeah. That's
Yeah.
a trick
That
behind
was me.
it.
Thank you for waving, girl.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I knew you were trying to tell me something.
No,
What does that
I
dance
it was
mean? That dance
She
means
was
mute.
doing the dance.
I was
Oh,
doing
yeah,
the
yeah.
dance the
Yeah,
whole time,
but
and then I had to no, I had to mute it. I had to
All
mute
right.
it.
Yeah, that everything about it, man. The fact that you incorporated this like consistent dance move that goes with it. I didn't even notice that the first few times, but I love it so much.
Yeah, it was just really, I mean, the thing that I love the most about this, honestly, is just the absolute scarcity of fucks that were given. Can I curse on this podcast? Sorry.
Yeah.
But like honestly, like if you'd asked me 2 weeks ago, even with everything that's happened in the last 3 years and IMF and all the good shit that's been happening in music, I would have told you, listen, I know my way around a DAW maybe nowadays, but I don't write lyrics. I don't sing. I sure as hell don't use my own voice. And man, it's not like I'm gonna ever dance on camera, you know? And then I just decided to do all those things because why not?
Yeah, give a man a COVID mask, you set him free, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, mask at a party. It's like putting on a wig, it just makes you want to dance.
That's awesome.
And so yeah, and it was super fun to have the excuse to make a movie. And I and I love people and I was just bullshitting with I'll try to curse marginally less, but I was just talking to Hassan, the guy in the corner shop, and he thinks it's super funny that I'm making music, and so I played him the track, and then he got really into it, and he was just super supportive. He was just he's like, oh, the messages are so positive, you have to come shoot in my shop. And I was just planning to like dance in the aisles or whatever, but then he's like, no, I want to get in it. I want to just serve customers like you're not here.
Awesome. Yeah.
And so that was totally his idea. And then he called Barrett from the kebab shop 2 doors down, his mate. I was like, you got to let this guy shoot in your shop. And then and they were just all so sweet and supportive. Everyone I encountered, total strangers, basically. I mean, we know each other from being customer things, but we decided to be honest with each other and share some art, and they were just so into it. And I even when I would say little things like, oh, my kids get embarrassed when I do stuff like this, they'd be like, you shouldn't be embarrassed, man, live your dream, they were so supportive and wonderful. And that was really the best part of it, is just meeting new humans and just expanding my network and just seeing how this ridiculous thing that I do impacts on random other people, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
I have to say, I was a big fan of the. Go ahead, Rio.
Sorry, I told you I'm gonna interrupt. I was just wondering if you could ask them if I could record my music video there. Will they let me?
It's on. I mean, next time you're in London,
you had different places that you were. That was so cool. That was so legit. I'm not sure I could pull that off, or I don't know how I would. It would probably take. I don't know. I don't have any cool corner stores and kebab places either.
Where actually are you? I mean, if you want to say on the air, what location are you?
Exact street
Secret.
address.
Yeah, 555 Evergreen Terrace.
I'm in Buffalo, New York.
Oh yeah, I know the place well. So I know I was just trying to get a mental map of where you don't have cool corner shops. You might have cool corner shops in Buffalo. I don't know.
We have some, but I don't know if I went in there and tried, and I was doing cool dance moves and saying, I don't know what would happen. I'm gonna try it though.
I think you should. I think you should. Yeah, live the art you want to be, or something like that.
Yeah.
I could.
I think something you were saying how you just did it. You didn't care, or something to that effect. And I think that something about that carefreeness meant all the most important things you wanted to do and say came forward, and other people were able to just receive it effortlessly. It's not like you obscured the point in walls of intricate jazz chords or anything. You were just like, I got a beat and some words, and here they are. And that's super tangible.
That was 2 splice loops or something. I just threw them down. I spent 10 minutes on the beat.
That's awesome.
And even the chorus, it's the kind of thing that I mean, I used a lot of auto-tune for the effect, but just the singing in my own voice is something that I've only recently ever even considered trying. And then I just banged it out. I'm not saying it's genius or anything. I'm just saying I didn't care. I was just oh, I need to sing now. Okay, because that's what the song needs. I'll just do it. And it was just so liberating and really fun. So it was one of the more fun things I've done in a moment. I don't know if I have a rap career ahead of me, but I'm really glad I tried it.
Yeah.
I might keep, and I think it's like singing in general. I've been singing more recently, and I started singing in a sort of a falsetto or a pitched voice, which I might still do. I like the effect. But it took me a while to get brave enough to sort of sing in my own voice.
Yeah.
and then, realizing at the end of the day, I don't necessarily need to be a singer-songwriter or these things. Like, just because I also never wrote lyrics, but then all of a sudden I decided I kind of want to try that, and it doesn't need to be the center of my praxis or what a praxis. I never know the difference, but like, then it's a thing you have, and you can just throw it in. You go like, I need 5 seconds of singing here and some lyrics. Just do that, because it's the same as adding a compressor at a certain point. You just got to sort of get over it.
It's a tool in your creative, tool belt.
Yeah, tool belt.
What were you? You were going to say something too, Starcry, and I think I cut you off.
No, I was just going to say that Timba, his arms wide was inspired. That one I liked.
Yeah.
I did. I dig pretty deep for TNG. I'm not going to lie.
The single greatest episode of TNG.
I enjoy the references, and that's part of why I wanted to do it in the first place. Was like, at this point, the amount of just excess cultural baggage and references I have floating through my brains like constantly is just this soup of like 1980s cereal commercials and this SNL skit and a book I read once in college, and it's just total jumble of it almost seems like wasted space. And then you're like, well, actually, if I can pull out really random references, that's a rap thing.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, that's kind of funny, because foundationally, when we try to communicate with other people, like, that is a creative process. Often we have to find ways to say a thing to someone that they will understand. We're putting pictures in their brain often, and when we're creating music, the ability to say a thing 10 different ways means you have more choices. You have more pathways to get to the point you're trying to make through Star Trek references, But
sorry, I'm reading the chat, and I'm trying to think of an 80s cereal jingle I can actually sing, but I'm gonna have to work on that one. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. No.
I got marginally distracted.
The chat. I keep peeking over at the chat too, but I'm trying to stay focused over here. But yeah, man, people are needing more of that in their lives. So I hope you give us a follow up soon on that style.
Yeah, think about that. I actually, in my high school band, the singer, when he would get bored, was prone to just throwing down this Sizzler chicken and shrimp jingle. If you grew up in the 80s, you might know the one. Chicken and shrimp together, they're great. Now it's Sizzler, one special taste. It's fun. And then you got to like get really into it. Sizzler, chicken and shrimp together. Chicken and shrimp, it's a Sizzler. Yeah, it's a classic. I would recommend looking it up. And yeah, I just did that on the internet.
I'm a fan. Yeah, hey, I'm a fan. I honestly, does Sizzler still exist? I don't even know.
If it doesn't, they are going to exist again now that you just did that.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna get.
I've totally screwed the timeline now.
We're gonna get you
paid,
man.
Sizzler.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not supposed to change anything when you time travel. But yeah, I do want to. Also, I wanted to say, like, there were moments in those lyrics that I thought to myself, continuing to make a podcast after hearing these lyrics seems irresponsible, because I feel fired up to like change the world in like a more substantial way. You know what I mean? Like, I want to just dismiss class early and send everybody along to their anarchist needs.
Anarchist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To choose a lazy word. Yeah.
Well, it was an active week last week. There was a war on, and it was, I was getting annoyed, and I think about these things too. It's and I think talking about social justice and a few other topics along those lines was also an effort to sort of like stay serious, like to not just like, what else am I going to rap about? Like, I would have to sort of make it up if I wanted to say anything nice about my car, like,
yeah.
So, I decided to rap what I know, and I do care about these things, and what else are you supposed to do? It's dad rap.
Yeah,
but
dad
it was
rap.
a fun thing to do.
I like it. Well,
it's actually, the response to it has been really funny based on age. Pretty much every single person I played this for that is over 35 has basically said like, okay, nice rap. But and everyone I've played this for who's under 35 has always been like, that's an interesting poem, but it almost sometimes sounds like you're trying to rap or something.
That's yeah. It's I think those people haven't heard enough Chuck D, man. They haven't heard enough of the OG stuff. Like,
Cool Keith is the man.
Yeah, right. But no,
Let me tell you about some Grandmaster Flash.
Yeah, the real deal. I want to ask you some about your. So one topic I like to cover when we talk to folks on the show is lessons you've learned through struggle or failure. So the kind of low points in your creative time. And it doesn't have to be wrapped up with a nice bow. It doesn't have to be, and then I got better. It can just be something that was a struggle for a time in your creative, journey. Can you share something like that?
Sure. And I should say, at the outset, although I've in my professional life undergone numerous media trainings, and you gave me this question in advance, I have not thought about it at all. So, I'll just reflect and be totally honest.
And off the head. Yeah. Just
So I guess, the downside is basically everything in my life except for music. I mean, that sounds a little bit too grim. But we've all had a rough few years. And I'm in a demographic that is heavily frequented by depression, and I have that issue as well, and I talk about it really openly with my friends, and happy to talk about it on your podcast because so many people go through it. But for me, I've really had to change my lifestyle a lot. I used to be a huge drinker, and I am now, although I'm having a beer on your podcast, not much of a drinker anymore. And so I've made some life changes, but the thing that really buoyed me the most, I think, was not just making music, which, is something personally I've always wanted to do. Like music's the art for me. It always has been. Like, I love visual art. I love, I love literature. I love poetry. I love all the stuff. But at the end of the day, like, music is just better. Like if it's sound based, for me, it just resonates, no pun intended. It just resonates so much more strongly. And so for me, it wasn't so much just the fact of making the music, but the fact of allowing myself to do it and allowing myself to enjoy it and allowing myself to have the space to feel good about enjoying it. And allowing myself to fail in public a lot, which was something I was always terrified of, always have been in so many contexts in my life. I don't like to fail. And being able to finally get over myself and just be like, this is literally the best I can do right now. This is everything I got. I think it's cool. I sincerely think it's cool. If you disagree, we simply disagree. And getting to that place, took a long time for me, longer than for some people, I think. And so for me, that part of the making music process, actually has been rather tied up with a bow, to be honest.
That's good.
It has bled out into the rest of my life. This became the positive thing in my life. I mean, as well as my children and, all kinds of other good things that do exist in my life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's not all that dark, but, it became a thing that gave me strength.
Yeah, I get caught up on that too, and I'm all like, music is just kind of like the best thing I do, and it's all like, well, also I'm happily married and I have a baby. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
And those guys, hey, shh, Daddy's podcasting.
Take that, family.
Yeah.
No. So, but the point is, it's just been, I don't know. I just find it so wonderful, and like everything that people do to create this space where people can just come together and like. This is sort of what the internet's for, like this, where you meet your community, and whether you're, an LGBTQ kid in some country where it's illegal and you can find your people online, and that's this wonderful story. But like, musicians are also this other thing. Like, we don't all go on to play music for a living. We're not like out, so to speak. Sorry, I'm going to stop using that analogy now altogether because that's offensive. But the idea is that, we don't get to be the musicians we wanted to be, but we still like, I've spoken to other people who I won't name here about the fact that I think it's fair to say that a big part of my like midlife crisis, so to speak, is like, what if I never make the music in my head? What if all that stuff that's been banging around in my head all these years just never gets out? And so that put this urgency into it, and just then being able to find all these people who are so into it and who just like actually think enough about creativity and whatever to go and host a podcast, like it's great. Like, I'm so glad I bumped into you people.
Yeah, me too.
We're glad you did too.
I think one thing you shared was this idea of being able to fail publicly being an important step. And there's something that I heard Kenny Werner say. He's like a jazz pianist slash like just kind of prolific teacher in like the flow state way of thinking about stuff. and he talks about how the only way to make the music that you're going to love is by loving whatever it is you can make now. You know, and like finding a way to, if you bash on the piano, say that is music too, you know, and moving that into graceful, loving action. And I think that is often for me the missing component behind that, like, fear of failure, is like the failure was forever somehow, and it never is. You know, the failure is like a learning process, and I get to love learning. You know, I get to love being wrong occasionally.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic to just approach something that's like a new skill. It's like learning a language, and I am so just chuffed, to use the British expression, to have come out of the last few years with this new skill set. Which was never something I was able to do, and it really is kind of a superpower. And I really, because I've just always loved music so much, and so now being able to do more with it, just create more, and you know, the things that were so baffling and that were so just seemingly unhearable for so many years, when you start to hear them, it gets so exciting. And you know, and then there's, you know, just being able to nerd out with people. And you know, I've said it before, but you know, the first thing that really clicked with me on IMF was, and I was like, I dropped in and I said hello, and I forget what it was even about, samplers or something. I had no idea how to use a sampler or something like that. And Starcry, Dixie Flatline, PIX3LARMY General was just like, hey man, if you want to talk about whatever the subject matter was, like, let's jump in a video room now, and I'll like literally just show you how. And I was like, oh man, this is amazing. Like, I owe you so much. Like, why are you being so nice to me? And he's just like, that's just what it's like here. Like, we just love to learn. And, you know, like, this is what we get off on. We geek out on this stuff. And I was just like, oh my God, this is real. Like, where has this corner of the internet been this whole time?
Man. I agree.
Pax had to create it.
Yeah.
I also wanted to say, like, to that, it's kind of growth mindset, right? Like, everything that you do is a snapshot. And it's very easy to mistake the snapshot for the whole. It's really easy to mistake the simulation for the existence. Like, when you put out a song and people comment on it or have thoughts or whatever, it's super, you know, I feel you on that, Telly, because it's super easy to be like, well, this is what I am. This track is what I am. And in reality, you know, like, in reality, that's a snapshot, and tomorrow it's going to look completely different than it did today. And, you know, I try to keep that in mind, because occasionally, you know, somebody will say something that just for whatever reason cuts directly to my black heart. And, you know, and I'm like, oh man, I kind of like, you know, mope around about it for a little while. And then I'm like, you know, I have to remind myself that was Thursday. It's Saturday now. Let's try Saturday.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good, man. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, watching progress is fun, and I love watching it in other people too. Like, you know, the people who, you know, like, whatever, the class of 2020, so to speak. But even, you know, everyone who sort of drops in and they have this one track, and then you kind of lose track, and then 6 months later you come back and you're like, oh, holy crap! Like, you got a lot better, you know. Like, and it's so fun to watch.
Yeah.
I think that there's a like, passion is a little bit contagious, you know?
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
when you're passionate about making music, you want everyone to find that same kind of enjoyment in it, you know? That coupled with good teachers are teachers all the time, and Starcry is basically just teaching somebody something. River just pointed out that he just yesterday taught River how to make his guitar not suck, which I find it hard to believe. River's a talented friend as well, so...
I just have to live in the IRs, man. Spreading the gospel of the IRs.
I'm lost on that. What is that?
So IRs are impulse responses. They are for modeling cabinets, guitar cabinets and stuff. Okay. You can do it with reverbs too. But in short, what you kind of do is record a guitar amp through a specific cabinet, like a Marshall 412. You record that, and then you subtract the original sound, the sound directly from the amp. And so all you're left with is the sound, the changes that the cabinet made to the original sound. Okay. Once you have that, you can put anything through that change, and it will sound like it's coming through that 412 cab.
Mercy.
Yeah, it's it's pretty sick.
That
And
sounds
it's
scientific.
easy.
Hashtag
So-
science. Yeah, that's cool, man. Someday, Stay Creative is going to have a bunch of tiny lessons from Starcry, short clips that we're going to just have him show us what the heck he just said with pictures, because I'm more
And
lost
I'll diagram it out.
with
I'll
pictures.
diagram it out.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
fine. I'll get a whiteboard right here, and I'll.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Let's do the differential.
Perfect. Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you very much, TV, for sharing what you have, and and making things. Like it would have been so easy to just like embrace that, like, I don't have to do this, but you didn't, and now you have wonderful collaborations and even completely soloed work that you have to show for it, and the world is a better place for it, and I'm grateful, man. But I do.
No, man, I'm really grateful for you for doing this and for having me on to, BS about creativity.
The thing is, I was gonna talk sitting at this desk either way, so I'm just glad someone's listening. Like,
Recorded or not, I'm just going to be
Recorded-
sitting here talking.
to myself. Yeah.
I'll be here.
And I want to ask,
This guy.
on the other side of that what you've shared, what have been some of the just, I really like to frame this question in like the things that keep you going when it is indeed difficult. So it could be something as simple as like a memory of somebody important to you who loved something you made, or it could be an internal feeling that is satisfied only by creating. Those types of vague or specific things. I just want to know some of your high points in this creative journey.
Okay. I should have also prepared this one, but yeah, I mean, it's a lot of highs, but when it gets rough, I mean, honestly, I think the nearest thing I can say that I fall back on is addiction, which is something that I've also had some experience with in my life, and music is a place where I can channel that energy creatively, I think, which is pretty fun. Like, I regret that modern music production, at least the way I do it, is laptop based, because I spend my entire life staring at a screen and pointing and clicking, and it sucks. And I wish I was dancing around and playing with something physical.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's a tremendously rewarding process for me to just go down those deep tunnels, like to just spend 6 hours straight on, EQing something. Not literally, but like I enjoy the tunnel. I do. And not all the time. Like it can be like any addiction. I think you can definitely do it in unhealthy or unproductive ways. And, you obviously don't want to like block out important people in your life, and you have to have a balanced life and save time to do exercise and eat vegetables and all the rest of it. But like, there's a part of me that like honestly just needs the eggs, to quote Woody Allen, so to speak. Like, I just need to keep doing it. And, like the terror of running out of it someday. Like I once tried to write a novel, and I got several hundred pages into it actually. And then I just literally ran out of plot. I was just like, I got no idea what happens next. Yeah. And I just never went back to it. And that's fine, because it was fun to get it out. But there was this feeling at some point when I was writing where I felt a little bit bad about poaching events from my own life. In other words, I was pulling a lot of my own past to write these characters. And at some point I realized, like, listen, once you've hit 40, you never run out of past. Like, it's infinite, and then that turned out not to be true. So I'm a little bit on the fence about that. But then with the music thing, I have a similar fear with just sort of like, what if that was my last idea? Like, what if I never do it again? And then when it gets, and I know we all think that, but like when you've had, and I've been in a situation quite recently where we've all been in, where I've just got like 4 or 5 projects that are like 70% cooked, and just I can't get it, I can't crack it. They're not finishing, they're not sounding perfect yet. And then, it just, and then people would keep bugging me, not bugging me, like, offering me like opportunities to do more things. And I would kind of like smack my hand and be like, no, you've got so much left undone. Like, what do you have no business taking on a new project right now. But then I do it anyway. And then, and then I actually, this week I had a walk off, which was amazing. That hasn't happened in a while. It was a Daphne Sarah's track that I remixed, and I think about 4 sessions, just 4 evenings in a row, just went in the tunnel and just like stood up and was like, I think it's done.
Yeah.
And that just hasn't happened in so long that it felt like, okay, you know what? I do still have 6 projects stalled. That is frustrating, but it's not because I don't know how to music anymore. It's not because I've run out of ideas. It's not because I forgot what a snare is. You know, it's just sometimes it just doesn't click, and it'll get there, and you just got to stay in the flow.
Yeah, that's first off, I'm extremely excited to hear you work with Daphne. I only recently became aware of Daphne's music because of Life's Everyday Soundtrack. Phenomenal. Crazy talented, crazy good.
Yeah. We've got a track out together already. That's just fantastic.
Awesome.
Like just one of the best vocals. Actually, I'll tell you about that later. But yeah, go on.
Okay, cool. Yeah. But also, yeah, just that feeling of rediscovering. Oh yeah, I am an artist. I am a musician. I am able to do this. I'm allowed to call myself that still. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's real fun, and it's just I mean, the thing that we did with Daphne and I, which is just a great story about how that works, is so this present iteration of TVLA and being a musician. Like I've shown a few people, but I have like a 10-page list of band names on my phone. I just keep feeding it, and I literally just happened to be on Tele Vangeles when it happened. It was not like my choice to always be a Tele Vangeles, but I guess that's who I am now.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so there I am being Tele Vangeles, and oh my God, I've totally lost my train of thought. Right. So I'm talking, I was making a track and I picked up an EBO, you know, the magnetic gizmo that pulls on your guitar strings and makes them resonate.
Yeah.
And I was playing an acoustic guitar, which it always still doesn't quite work for me that EBOs work on acoustic guitars, but they do. And then I randomly like opened GarageBand. I hadn't made music in 10 years, and I just started recording this EBO on an acoustic guitar and ended up making this thing that sounded, if you put like 3 or 4 tracks together like that, it sounded a little bit like a pedal steel. And I've just always loved a pedal steel. And so I threw down this acoustic guitar track and I was like, I want to make all country music. Like I love this sound. I want to be the next, Wilco or whatever, Trace, Sunvolt or whatever. And I never did another one. And that track sat. That was one of the tracks that I sent first to Floralyn, and she was wanting to do more synthwave, which we ended up doing, and that was an incredible journey as well. But then the track itself just never went anywhere. And literally last year, I met Daphne when she came on the server, and sent her a few things, and we just started talking about how to work together, and one of them was that, and that ended up being the song we released together. And I think it's a really great song on a couple of levels, which is one. It was the first time I'd done an acoustic track in forever with a bunch of acoustic instruments. And I was just like, I didn't know if anything I'd been learning would transfer, and it totally did, which was awesome. And then B, like, here's the thing that I was just like, I sat down, I made this EBO sound, and I like looked at my hands and I was like, what have I done? Like, I made a sound, and that's like how the bug started. Like, that's where it all started.
Yeah.
And then to see that track out in the world with this amazing vocal that Daphne did and like turned it into this really special song, it was really cool.
Yeah.
That felt like a very like a sort of returning to origins kind of moment.
That's excellent. Oh, sorry. I can hear my dog barking in his sleep. You know how dogs have a specific sleep bark? I was like, what the heck is happening? That's awesome, man. I really appreciate you sharing that. And I appreciate you sharing how you've used music as this like outlet for those addictive tendencies too. Like some people really see themselves in that as well, and I think that's an important thing, that when we're able to articulate and share that is part of what's going on. I don't know. I think it makes connections that transcend genre or style or even age or region or socioeconomic status, whatever. Like, we're able to find one another in struggle and success. I appreciate that very much. I think that's one of the best bits. For sure. I feel like I'm talking too much. RIELLE, Starcry, I want to be sure that you guys have ample time to speak or share anything that you want to, based on.
Or if I have less time, because I'll talk too much.
Okay.
I'm also self-conscious, so.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not. You're not talking too much. I just keep replying to you as though this is a one-on-one conversation, and I feel like I'm cutting out our dear friends and their perspective as well.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Well, I do want to actually move on. Rielle, I'd like to share the song that you're sharing with us today. Do you want to tell us some about it before we do? And then, after we listen, we'll dive into some more of your highs and lows and stuff.
Okay. I listened to Nightfall, which is perfect because in the quadrant right over there is Starcry, who is pretty much the reason this track even exists, is the reason. But I heard it, and it was the first time I wrote a song, and it was a different creative process for me than normal. Usually I have an idea for lyrics, or I have a phrase in mind, I have an idea going into something, even just a phrase, a word. This time I heard it and I just started in my head, out loud, I just started improvising a melody. It just came to me immediately. There were words with it. There were some made up words with it. And I just immediately had to get in front of my microphone and record these melodies that I was singing and words. And some of them actually ended up being the word. Most of them that I improvised were words, except for one. But it was turned into a word.
Yeah.
It was, but it was just, they literally, the lyrics, the melodies came out of me. I never experienced that before, and it was so cool. And so I basically knew the melody. I was trying to figure out where the song was gonna go, how it was gonna get big, but I wanted it to be intimate because I just felt like it was a really passionate song, and I wasn't concerned about what genre is this? What style am I singing? I'd never really try to focus on that too much because I don't like to box myself in. So I just really, there was something about the atmosphere the song created, hands down, for me when I heard it, that turned a switch in my mind, and it was just speak, sing what you need to let out. And
that's awesome.
So it was awesome.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, let's listen to it, and then we'll talk some more about it.
Losing all my strength.
Ah, every time I hear that song, it's stuck in my head for like at least multiple days. I'm gonna have to listen to "Happy Birthday" on loop just to be sure I don't
Thing
walk
is
around
so
singing
killer.
the hook of that song. Yeah.
Mute this now. Okay, there we go.
Hey.
Sorry.
No, it's
I
all
had
good.
to
Yeah, it's pirate radio. Everything's a little weird. But yeah, great.
Well, since I'm the only one who has audio chat, I'll say congratulations to both of you. That is a phenomenal track. Like, all the comments are totally right. You guys killed it.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks, bud.
Lots of really kind and accurate comments about just how well produced it is, and of course my comment about how I can't remember what I said. Oh, I hear you sing, REILLE, and I'm like, I can't imagine the ability to possess like that much control of a voice. Even when I talk, my voice is like, I don't know where I am. It's great.
I think I have them. I think maybe I only have the control when I'm singing, but mind you, I make myself crazy about it. Trying to have that much control. It's definitely, it doesn't always work. It doesn't do what I want it to do sometimes, and I can get frustrated, or it just means 800 takes. Which, sorry, Starcry.
Yeah.
All right.
I need to
We used most of them.
Yeah.
There were some that I didn't even, and this is the part that is so amazing to me, and that's why I like collaborating and just in general working with other people, because they see things, hear things differently. You know, there was one like take that I thought was, I would have deleted it, but I didn't delete it, and I sent it because I was just like, sorry, I was like, send it all, don't delete it, don't get rid of it. And it ended up in this song, and to me, I was just like, oh my gosh, it can't be used, da, 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 da. And it's really cool when you're working with somebody like that, who they can see it from a different perspective, and they also can tell you stop or keep going, or you know, it kind of it helps you chug along when maybe you're either not sure where you're going with something, you're stuck, or you know, not that, or you're just like having that off day where you're like, oh, I don't know, I can't sing today. I can't sing. All of a sudden today, I can't sing. Why am I singing?
Yeah.
I shouldn't even be doing this, because it happens. And then it's like, well, I did record that. How did I do that? But today I'm so sure that I shouldn't be doing this. But somehow it all works out. And then, I mean, for me, I was so thankful to do this, because it was only this year that I started working with Ableton and recording. I always was, you know, performing. So there was no multiple takes. It was, you have one shot to sing this and you better do a good job.
Yeah.
So that was a hard concept for me to wrap my head around. And then I felt like I was cheating if I got to redo a part. But instead, I accepted it, and I learned to, you know, use it in a positive way instead of thinking like I'm cheating. It's like I can practice this. I can make this, you know, sound the way I want it to sound. But just with my voice, I had no knowledge and not a lot of education when it came to production, mixing, and anything like that. So it was such a pleasure working with Starcry, because he would actually take the time to explain and tell me so that I could understand what he was doing. So it was such a learning process for me. And that's what a lot of this has been. You know, I've just been like sponge status. All I've been doing is just like soaking up all of the information that I've learned. It doesn't always, you know, like connect immediately, and I might not get it the first time, but you know, it's in there now, and I could relate it to other things and projects I'm working on. And that's when I feel really good, is when I learn something and then I can put it to use.
Yeah.
It's just such an amazing feeling.
That's awesome.
But for Nightfall, I Oh, and when I was recording, I set my stuff up, I move it around constantly. Usually for some parts I was singing, like when I was first coming up with the melody in the beginning, like you'll hear me, I'm doing a humming kind of situation. That was just part of my improvisation. I'm pretty sure when I write my melodies, I think of it as I'm playing my saxophone and I'm taken back to my jazz improvisation class in high school that I constantly pretended I was sick and I had to go out of the class because I wasn't sure how to play over the chord changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it resonated with me because that is how I write now. You know, I just improvise melodies. I pretend it takes me right back, but I use my voice instead of my saxophone, of course. Although I should probably whip out my saxophone one of these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that beginning part, like I didn't know if I was going to keep that, like if that was going to be a part of it. But it was like the feeling. I was singing the feeling of the song.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wasn't even sure with the structure either. I just like had this bit of like words that I felt set the scene of the emotions I was trying to convey.
Yeah.
And because you know, I don't know if I've ever written in like a little intro bit into a song, you know, but I wasn't worried about it. That was one thing I didn't overthink was, is this how the structure should be? I can't think of too many songs. Like I don't let myself get caught up on that. I'll get caught up on like other ridiculous things, but I didn't get caught up on that.
Yeah, that's
So
good. That's good. Yeah, and it's cool. It's cool to me too that like, you know, a band or a collaboration or, you know, just a joint project with someone else can take on as many forms as you can imagine. You know, sometimes it's four guys with instruments in a garage, and sometimes it's a long distance internet collaboration where you are trusting him to decide if these humming parts should stay in or go. You're just saying, I trust your ability to mix all this in. Here's all the raw content. Here's my best performances and some of my weirdest performances. There they are. I trust you. And, you know, ultimately, because of that trust, the two of you were able to produce something better than the sum of its parts. You know, I like that.
It was a risky move, trusting me to make those calls.
Yeah.
So because the first time I was in IMF, which is similar to what you were saying, how you got advice right away. The first time I ended up in IMF, I ended up recording 30 seconds or like not even too long of my vocals, sending them over to Starcry. This was within 30 seconds of entering the chat. There was a cover collab immediately.
Yeah.
So I was like, mine was blown. I didn't know what I was doing in there. It was the first time I ever had Discord. I didn't know I still am not 100% on how to do everything in Discord, but I'm getting better.
Same.
It was Tiffany's I Think We're Alone Now, right?
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, and I have it. I found it the other day because I must have, if on my computer, if I double click on something, it just saves to my like music library. So it like came on shuffle the other day and there I was singing it.
That's
but
awesome.
I was like, oh my God, this just happened within 5 minutes of being here. Like, where am I? Just kind of like what you're saying. Like, why haven't I known this place existed? Like,
Yeah.
Here are my people. I finally found them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was sold then. For sure. But and that's like really important. If you find somebody that you work with, that you trust and you're comfortable and you communicate, because part of that trust though is you need to be okay with them. And obviously this never happened because like I'm perfect. But like if something's not good, like they have to be able to tell you it's not good. Or why don't you try again? Why don't you put more oomph behind it? Why don't you like I know you can hit that note or something like that. And sometimes for me, if I need to redo something and somebody is honest with me or says, you know, like, I think you can do this. I'm not saying that this happened. No, I'm just kidding. But I feel better when somebody tells me, you know, why don't you try to do that take again and, like put a little more umph behind it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm probably my biggest critic, and I'll do something 80 times, and usually maybe it's the other way around where it's like, I think we got it. I think, on the 50th take you had it. You didn't have to do 80 more. But I like when somebody, gives me that constructive criticism, that feedback, because it almost reminds me of when I was in ballet class as an adolescent. If the teacher wasn't correcting you, I always felt like they didn't think you cared, about what you were doing. Like, I always appreciated when they were, paying attention and saying, oh, try this, do this. But if they weren't saying anything, then it's like, So for me, it pushes me. It pushes me to be better.
I'm perfect, or you don't care about what I'm doing, and I don't think I'm perfect.
Definitely not.
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
Definitely not.
Definitely.
But
well,
yeah.
Well, yeah. I appreciate you sharing that. Oh.
Can I ask a question, or what's the etiquette?
Absolutely, please.
So I just have a topic I've been thinking about a lot that this conversation made me think about, which was how, and it started with something Drury said in the chat, which was he felt like this was and I don't mean to center Starcry in your moment, REILLE, but it's both of your track, but but the idea that this is the culmination of Starcry as a project, and I thought about that, and I think it's well, I mean, I won't go there, but like I'll let you talk about what your culmination is. But the point is, there's so much that's distinct about the sound in that like country but ethereal mix that you do so perfectly. And so one thing I've really been struggling with is, like, as I learn a bit more about production and the technical side of it, I lose a bit of my artistic vision. Like, I find my field of view narrowing to things that sound well produced. Whereas before, I would have been that guy to be like banging on a coffee can and doing crazy stuff. And I wonder how you find and this is like a general point, like not really related to what you were saying, but like you're saying you're learning more about the production and, getting more comfortable with rehearsing and that. Do you find it's changing your taste? And do you find that your musical taste is evolving in a good way? Because this seemed to me like really a case where you had sort of turned it into like that perfect combination of what David Bowie said a rock star is, which is like yourself plus what you want to be. Like it seemed very true to yourselves. I mean, REILLE, this is one of your first tracks I've heard, but it's it seemed very true to at least Starcry sound that I've heard before, and I just wonder how you deal with that question of your evolving taste.
Are you talking to me?
I'm talking to the program. Like, how do you all deal with this? I'm like throwing this open to the crowd, basically. Like, do you guys find that as you keep practicing at this, that you start doing different things? Like, do you find that you're making different music now in the studio than you were as a live performer? Or do you find that you're morphing, changing, evolving? Do you find it's getting true or less true, that kind of thing?
For me, it's Starcry was actually an effort to break away from that. Prior to Starcry, I'd spent 15 years making Swedish style melodic death metal. And I kind of pushed that to a pretty far direction, and I wanted to kind of sharpen up production in a different way. And so it kind of forced me back into that space of I'm just throwing things at it. Into that more I think what you were kind of referring to is the earlier state, the creative state, so to speak. And I did Starcry over the course of this, I kind of started it about a month before I joined IMF. Even though I kind of had the name, not the name Starcry, because that's you, Trex. But and then now I'm still doing Starcry, but I'm also moving on from that, going back to really a style that I did in like that first album, when I was 18, is kind of what PIX3LARMY is. So it's kind of, the way that I sort of avoid that, that I guess, changing taste is a positive thing, or can be a positive thing, but there's also that narrowing that you were talking about. And the way that I avoid that narrowing is by saying, all right, screw this, I'm going to go do something else.
Yeah. I would say my taste hasn't narrowed since I've learned how to produce my own music better. You know, before everything was the center channel. Everything sounded exactly like it was recorded. You know, that was how I made music. But in learning to produce, I have discovered my appreciation for other things has opened up. You know, like before I never would have listened to pretty much any kind of like electronically rooted music. I didn't feel the passion in it, you know, but now I can listen to it having met people who make it, having learned how difficult and how much work goes into producing that. I feel like my appreciation for that has widened, but also my articulation for what it was I was always enjoying about music I loved has become clearer to me. Like, I love the way some of my favorite bands mix their kick with their bass guitar in like a unison, it is the same note now way. And I had no idea how much I loved that until I examined all my favorite music through that lens, you know? What about you,
I think
Riel?
I'd agree with that. Yeah, I think taking a little bit of what everybody said about that, I think the more I learn, the more I can appreciate different styles and genres of music, and want to actually widen my horizon of the kind of music I make. It's very hard for me to, I think I've alluded to this, put myself like in a box, give myself a label when it comes to music, because I grew up with like listening to so many genres and styles of music. So, you know, I pull from that when I create. And then I also, when I create, I have to entertain myself too. And usually it always does. But it's important that, you know, I mean, depending on like thematically what I'm singing, you know, I like to laugh, I like to have fun, or, you know, it can get really intense and serious, you know, for myself if I'm writing something and it's like furiously scribbling on a sheet of paper, because I always either write my lyrics down, or for Nightfall, I don't even think I had them written down for the longest time because I was just ad-libbing them while I was singing, which was crazy. So then I was changing the lyric. I was like, oh, I think you're singing this the first time. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
always write them down. It was so funny. But I just, I mean, I'm trying new things now that I never thought I would. Quasi learning to produce. Like, I'm a fake producer. It's not real yet. It's not
We're all
real
fake
yet.
producers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Every one of us.
I pretend I'm trying. I'm learning. I'm really learning. But the problem is I have to keep my focus on certain things, or else there's just no hope, because I love new things. I like trying new things. And if I have too many new things, then I'll have 800 new things and no finished things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important for me because I get really excited when I start something. And if I can hold on to that, and I know I can, because it's not like the inspiration or the passion leaves. It's just, you know, I like to, like, I got to keep the foot on the gas pedal. I don't lift it up. If I lift it or if I put the brakes on. Yeah, I don't like to put the brakes on. I like to keep going. But I think you were saying something about how, you know, you might have some projects that you're like almost done with and you don't want to take on a new project. I sometimes find when I take on that new project, it like sets the fire to get another project done, or it gives me that inspiration, that like beginning, like something that, you know, I remember and I feel it, and then it's like, I'm gonna go do that. So I just creating the creative process and coming up with the lyrics, the melodies, and seeing how the songs go. Or for Nightfall, seeing how just the first time I got like I think maybe it was just I'm trying to think of what I did. Maybe it was just the beginning part and maybe a verse, not even the chorus yet. I remember I was going over some lyrics. So I was on Discord and I was typing to Starcry because I couldn't think, I was missing a word. But sometimes I just need to talk or like type something or write something down or have a conversation. Mm-hmm. And I think I answered my own question of what the lyric was just by typing it out. I was like, this doesn't work, and then I just, well, maybe it should be this, well, maybe, and then it just came to me all by basically talking to myself.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it was so funny. But, and that's how it happened for that little line. And then, if you're stuck, you can always talk to, if you're working with somebody, or then it's like, you have all this wonderful, like, community of people who, feel the same way about music and lyrics. You can always, I never really get stuck on, I love words. I love, like, the thesaurus was my best friend in school, or, and you were kind of saying about people connect to things differently. You have to figure out which way to say it to connect to everybody, or there's like so many different ways to say the same thing. And I try to think of, what do I relate to? How can I say this? But will other people feel that? Have they experienced that? I feel like that's really important to me, because I know when I listen to music, depending on, what I'm trying to get out of it, sometimes I need to, like, release negative energy. Sometimes I just need to release energy in general. Sometimes I'm, sad. Sometimes I feel really good and I want to rock out. And it's like, it's so funny. Sometimes the same kind of music can actually help with both. Or there's certain songs that I gravitate towards that, like, wow, I know the feeling this person had while they were, singing this, or had to be writing it, and that resonates with me. It doesn't make me feel, it doesn't change my feeling if I'm upset, but I don't feel alone, because I'm now feeling while somebody else is feeling, because they're feeling that too. So it makes the feeling stronger, but in a way that I'm now surrounded by other people who, or that's what I think when I listen to music, who are also feeling that feeling.
Yeah.
If that made sense.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like we almost got into the thing I wanted to ask, and maybe you can elaborate more on some of the low points in your creative time. Some of the things you've learned through maybe the feelings that you ended up finding connection with other people's work, or were able to craft into pieces of connection to your own feelings that you then made into music.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, during my creative process, I kind of turn into a crazy person, but only to myself, not to anybody else. So nobody has to worry. And all of my collabs are long distance, so nobody has to deal with me.
Yeah.
But so it's really easy for me if I am super productive, whether it be recording vocals that I actually think sound good, or, I write a lot one day and I'm totally into it. And then, maybe the next day I'm not as productive. I get so mad at myself. I get so upset. It brings me down, 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 down. And it's hard for me to not continue to, like, then I'll want to do something else, and I'll sing it, and nope, not having it, not like, and I get really overcritical of myself. And it's so funny because, if I was just that productive, I should be totally happy about it. And I should be, living in that feeling. And you were saying, like, the snapshot of the, like, today's the next day. And that's kind of like a really good way to look at it. It's like, today's a whole different day. I can't compare it to yesterday, or else I'm never going to be happy, because I can never, it's like, it's just like a constant kind of thing, but it's easy to get pulled back into, even though I know, I should be happy I did that today. I don't have to do all that. It doesn't negate yesterday's progress. It doesn't take away from it, but it's very hard for me when I'm in the moment, when I'm really, like, either vulnerable or feeling creative, or like want to get something out, but it's just not coming out the way I want it to, like literally singing, or, it's in my head. I know I have it, but it's just like I hit this brick wall sometimes. So what I do a lot is I like to drive. I get in my car. There's something about my car, nothing great. It's not the car, but there's something about driving. I put on music that I love, that I've always loved. Probably songs that I've listened to a trillion times that I should be sick of, but I'm not. And I roll down the windows and I just listen and I belt the music and I sing it and I get into this kind of rhythm. And then at some point I stop and get a coffee and I chill in my office, which is the parking lot of where I got the coffee. And then I always have my pad of paper with me. And that's where, honestly, you know, I still have the music going, maybe not as loud, but I just can write. And I start writing my lyrics and they'll come to me sometimes. And sometimes I don't even have the music that I'm writing to, or if I am even writing to music. And there's just something about that like task of driving. You know, I don't really have a goal set, you know, in mind when I do that. It's kind of just like to get me out of whatever funk I'm in. Mm-hmm. But it always helps me, and I turn to it a lot. You know, I get really overcritical of myself when I'm recording vocals or during the process, and I don't think I'm making enough progress. And it really eats me alive sometimes, and I get so upset. Oh my gosh. And I'd never gotten that upset at anybody else in my life, only me. It's like I'm so mean to myself. It's like, Gabrielle, you're not mean to anybody. Why are you so mean to yourself? Yeah. But I think it's the passion. I'm working on it. But it's the passion. It's just like pushing me, because if I didn't care so much, I would just like not do it. But it's because I'm trying to bring that out in myself. And I do. Something happens. Lord knows. I never know what the catalyst will be. But sometimes even if I force myself, like the other day, I was trying to look something up on my phone and then it died, and I had my pad of paper sitting next to me. So I was just like, oh, okay, I guess I'll write lyrics now. And it was just the act of my phone dying that made me all of a sudden write something. So music has been my escape this past year. And I won't say escape because I'm not running away from anything. I'm more of like trying to move forward. I guess music has been helping me, you know, get through some, you know, everybody's dealt with a very crazy year, you know, because of the pandemic, probably changes with, you know, their environment, jobs, you know, work with, you know, having to do with the pandemic. And I dealt with some like really crazy life, you know, like total 180, and it just, my whole life took a total turn. But I was able to find my ground through music. It kind of gave me that hope. It gave me a little, I needed to find my reason again. I just needed to find a reason. And that's exactly what music did for me.
That's awesome.
So I'm so grateful. Yeah. I'm still working on it. Still got a lot of healing and finding myself to do, but music, oh, so lucky. I'm so lucky.
That's awesome. So, something you were talking about a moment ago, you talked about how because today's a bad day doesn't mean yesterday wasn't good, you know, that kind of thing. And something that has really been helpful for me whenever I'm in one of those kinds of moods is asking myself, when was the last time I felt this way? And did it last forever? And
so important.
And it never did, you know, because I had a good day between, you know. And usually that is almost like an instantaneous like perk up, you know, just the tiniest one, no matter how, you know, in the despair I currently feel, you know. But yeah, no, I agree. Like music, it doesn't have to be an escape to be a just like when you drive around, you know, you didn't pack up and leave town. You drove around, you took a trip, you saw some things, you cleared your head, you enjoyed some music, and that is exactly how the act of creating a song can be, you know? So I appreciate you sharing that.
Thank you.
Eric?
I'm happy I get to share it. I really am.
Yeah. Did you have anything, Starcry?
You know, I kind of missed the part to jump this in because I'm the keeper of the puppy dog pals, and I had to go take care of that. But you know, just to say for the record, RIELLE is amazing to work with because of all of that stuff that she said. Because I can throw her tracks, like, I mean, she probably gets 3 or 4 tracks a week from me, you know, and she'll be like, "Oh, cool, I will have some vocals to this," and it, that's just sort of how it happens.
Yeah. She goes on a drive,
in
and
addition
suddenly
to
there's a song.
Yeah, goes on a drive, and suddenly there are lyrics. And in addition to that, she's probably the only person on IMF that talks as much as I do. So our chat is like 70 miles long. I tried to search for something in the chat the other day, and I scrolled for like 5 minutes and went back 3 days. And I was like, never mind.
Yeah.
Not even going to bother.
Yeah.
To say about music, I do. It's perfect.
Yep. But to the point of trying to kind of break yourself out of being hard on yourself. I think I heard right before we started this podcast some words that stuck with me, which is the sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow.
It will.
It will.
That's awesome.
Thank
That's
you.
all I have to say.
Thank you.
Just had to make my stupid joke. That's it.
No, it was perfect.
I appreciate the dad joke. That was good.
Yeah. We got a dad rapper
I'm curious
and a
if
dad joker. Go ahead.
I'm curious if you find that you're able to be more, if you're harder on yourself in the context of your music, well, I mean, I'm making presumptions, but I make music for a hobby and I do something else for money, and I find that I'm harder on myself with the music than with other things sometimes. That that it's something a bit more personal. Like I have a harder time letting myself slip up with it, and I wonder how you relate to that.
For me, unfortunately, it's kind of just who I am in general. I'm very good at picking myself apart because I have a fear of wasted potential. I think that's my biggest fear. There have been things and parts of my life where I've wanted to do things and I've, maybe came this close, but either something happened or I'm like phenomenal at self-sabotage. It's like, do I think I don't deserve this, or I don't know what happens, but I hit that brick wall. So my music has actually been a gateway in a sense that it's been showing me that I don't have to hit that brick wall and I can keep going. So I think as time moves forward in the other aspects of my life, I'm going to see even more positive change because I've, been able to get over that hump, whereas usually, I hit that brick wall and, I stop something, I don't finish something, I don't follow through, I think I can't do this, that's definitely been like the scary monster that's followed me, is that fear of wasted potential. And part of it because of my being overcritical and self-loathing. It's not good. But unfortunately, it's my whole life that I do this to myself, not just music. But it's just because I think I just push myself. I know what I can do, and I got to find a way to get it out of me. I don't want to think of what I could have done. It's not a good feeling. I've done that too many times, thinking that thought. So I never want to think of it again.
For sure.
There's a great saying that I shared in the chat the other day, that an Austrian roommate of mine back in the day taught me, usually in the context of if we were leaving a bar and I'd say, should we get one more? Should we go home? And he would always answer in translation, well, we will never meet again as young as we are. I think about that a lot.
Yeah.
Ew.
That is a good one.
Did you have a? I'm sorry, Rielle, go ahead.
Oh, I think I was talking to myself. I'm not sure.
I was going to ask, Starcry, did you have an answer for TV's question?
No, I was just, I don't know. Thinking about it, like, I really try, that snapshot thing that I said earlier. When Telly was asking that question, I was kind of realizing that that's sort of a way that I live my life, is sort of like to try, I used to tell people to try to be better tomorrow than you were today. And you don't always hit it, but trying to be better than you were yesterday, like in all things in this kind of, humanist sort of way, means at least, even if you don't achieve it, that you were trying to improve upon your better, you're trying to improve upon your better angels. That yesterday you were trying, whether you hit it or not, you were trying, and tomorrow you're going to try to be better than that. Sort of, this odd path to enlightenment that still hasn't worked, but maybe one day. Tomorrow I will be there.
Tomorrow I'll believe what I told myself today to feel better.
There you go.
Today. Yeah.
There you go. Self-deception is our greatest weapon.
For sure. Yeah. Rielle, I want to. Oh, please go ahead.
That's actually, I just want to a minor note on that, because what you just said, it just went. I have found deceptive ways to trick myself when I have to do certain things, and that's what works for me.
Nice.
That's it. I won't go into detail.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate.
We don't have time.
Yeah, I understand. But I do have time and want to know more about your own, artistic journey up to this point. What have been some of the highlights, some of the grand moments that come back to you that maybe you can remind yourself of when you're feeling a little self-defeating? Rielle?
I would say, I remember, my first release was Blowing Out My Mind, which came about from Reddit, but I didn't write it. And I felt very, I was very, I didn't like that, because I loved the song. I loved singing it. I loved all the harmonies. It was a blast. I was jamming out when I recorded that song. I felt like I was getting ready, it was just so fun. I loved it. I really felt it. Even though they weren't my lyrics, I was singing them like they were mine. But it was really important to me to release a song that meant something to me because of, where the inspiration came from. And when I had the ability to do that with Nightfall, that song is going to mean so much to me for so long, because it was the first time I ever got to, express myself so honestly about, just with certain emotions and true feelings, and have it released into the world. And it gave me such a high. I remember the first time I got a mix of part of it, and I was just it's it came to life. And I had never experienced that before, because my writing had always been for myself, my lyrics, my singing. And I still do it. It makes me so happy, but I never thought that I'd be able to share it with other people. Mm-hmm. And, but that's what music does. Like we were saying, or I was, listening to music, it either pumps you up, it invigorates you. I know how I feel when I'm belting a song in the car, and how it makes me feel. And to imagine and somebody driving just like I do in their car and listening to my song and feeling that and releasing their emotions by belting the chorus or the bridge, mind blown. Yeah. It's just, so a big thing for me is it's not as much as the actual release of finishing a song. That's not that part, quote unquote. It's the finishing, it's the following through for me. The high for me is, starting that creative process and seeing it through to the end and releasing all of that, it's cathartic for me. Yeah. Along the way. And then at the end, because truly that fear of wasted potential haunts me. And you would think that ending feeling of, I finished this is enough to drive you during the process, but sometimes it's not, because we all have our demons. But when I do get to that point, I can't even explain the feeling. I'll probably have to write about it in a song. Yeah. But it's so real. It's so real. It's so real, truly. And I think every time I hear music or I get inspiration, I don't need inspiration to start writing, but when I do and it's so organic like that, oh, there is no better feeling for me. And just listening to new music that inspires me to create. It's all about the feelings and emotions for me. And even the sad and ones that hurt, they still give me that, high, I guess you could say, which is crazy, but it does,
not
and
at
it
all.
just feeds me.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
that's pretty much, it's very emotional for me in the best way. So
Yeah. I feel similar. I think a big important part for me in my creative journey was learning to enjoy the bad feelings too. Like you're saying, you know what I mean? Like get that same unique, not good or bad high from the feelings, from being, with the feelings.
Yes.
Yeah. That's cool. Thank you for that. And also just the idea of somebody, somebody hearing my song and saying, "Oh yeah, me too." Like, oh man, that's the brain buzz for me for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was crying. It happened, and I was just like,
that's awesome.
and it was amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing. I want to take just a moment before we move on to listening to Dixie's share, Dixie Starcry, Star-Lord. Let's just
Whatever. Whatever.
At this point,
That guy.
At this point, I'm making a joke out of how long we can make your name. But I want to take a moment to talk about something that we all have some experience with, whether we love it or we hate it, which is playlisting. Do you guys spend any time trying to get your music on playlists?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Because why? Because why would you? Why?
Yeah, it was, it was sort of like being 3 years old and drawing a picture for a parent, like, very carefully drawing everything and then taking the glue and the macaroni and being like, "Look, I made this for you." And your dad's like, "Son, that sucks." That is the act of playlisting.
Yeah. I have to agree for the most part. Playlisting is a unfortunately big part of trying to promote your independent music independently. You can pay somebody to promote your music, but if you want to control the promotion of your music, if you want to put your own work into it, you often will have to go through the hoops of something like Submit Hub, where it is your job to be sure you fit into some sort of category. And sometimes you think you do, and they just tell you you don't, and then you don't. And that's how it works. And I wanted to spend my little bit of kind of shout out space on today's episode talking about the IMF community playlist.
Now that's a different beast.
That's a different story. Yeah,
I was going to say PAX's playlist last month. What the hell?
Right?
Yeah, that's when you show it. You take that same picture and show it to your mom, and your mom's like, "I love this so much.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get it tattooed on myself."
Yes.
That is the IMF playlist.
No, that was like that's like when your mom's like, "Your picture's so awesome. I'm gonna ask my friend Oprah to put it on her TV show."
Boom.
My friend Oprah. He wants to start a death metal band called My Friend Oprah.
My friend Oprah.
Yeah,
I'm in.
Yes, awesome. No, but I wanted to take a moment to shout out the IMF community playlist, both to people who are looking for new, exciting, wonderful, cross-genre music, like the music we're sharing here today on the episode, but also for people who are looking for a living, tangible way to add your music to a playlist that real people listen to. Whenever I have in the past added my new music to the IMF community playlist, I have not just gained streams on Spotify, I have gained monthly listeners, which means people listen to this playlist of all kinds of music, and some of them said, "This is my kind of music," and they added me to their weekly, daily, monthly, routine of music that they just like to listen to. And that to me is organic growth, and that to me is the kind of growth that is worth investing your time in. And I think that is, I can't make this show without singing the praises of IMF as a community. And, it is more than a space on the internet. It's more than a Discord server. It's more than a subreddit, because it is the human beings in it who are spending their time teaching one another and building one another up, and spending their time listening to one another and promoting one another, even when it's not self-promotion anymore, because we are seeing one another as our people, as our team, And I think PAX, in a lot of ways, personifies that spirit and started the culture that we all really love about IMF. And I'm grateful for them. I'm grateful for the playlist. And I will be sure... Oh, I want to mention, every month on the 15th is when new submissions are welcomed into the playlist. And every month a new one is released. It's promoted, on the subreddit and things. And then... it runs for about a month, and then another one is released with new submissions. So I want to be sure that if you are an independent artist right now and you're not aware of that, there is going to be a link available to get to where you can submit your songs for real people to listen to, appreciate, and build up. No more jumping through. And, obviously, Submit Hub has been a wonderful tool for a lot of talented folks, but honestly, it's a lot of hoops to jump through to prove you fit into a category, and some music does not fit into commercially marketable categories, and that's beautiful too. And woo, I just smacked my microphone, sorry. And I love that they have made a space for that music to be enjoyed as well. So that's my spiel about that. Thank you guys for, I couldn't have scripted it better. The collective groan we had about the idea of playlisting.
I'm glad when you started to go ahead.
I was just saying, at the risk of biting the hand that potentially feeds me, like Submit Hub is some Black Mirror stuff. Like, that's terrible. Like, I had to explain that system to someone who had a record deal from like decades ago or whatever and didn't understand the new world, and they were just horrified by it. Like, it's just I mean, it really is. It's atrocious.
Yeah. I'm not a fan.
When you started talking about like, I'm going to use my shout out time to talk about, and I'm like, oh God, did I break something? Like, is he suddenly sponsored by Submit Hub? Yeah. And I'm like, getting on playlist is the worst.
They're not going to pay me now. Good job. Yeah, no, man. If you get paid to say it, you don't mean it. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. But hey, man, I want to perfectly transition. There's no seam here. Nobody knows what's happening. I want to perfectly transition into talking more. Segue, yeah. The little two-wheel police robot.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Anyway, Starcry. Let's talk about the song you're going to share with me, and then let's listen to it and jump into some more of your own highs and lows.
So, this is a PIX3LARMY track. We've been grinding on it. I've been working on these tracks since September, October. Passed him on over to Loam. He's been grinding on them, and we're getting close. And actually, in this video, going to premiere the cover to those of you who have not had the opportunity to see it yet. This particular track was chosen because REILLE's on it, and seemed. Since she was sharing a track we worked on together, I figured I might as well do the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. I just unfortunately opened my chat with you, and I was making sure you didn't tell me anything specifically secret about the secret project, but you didn't.
No.
Mostly we were just talking about what we're going to share today. So, awesome. I will get this song playing, man. Let's listen to it.
That was epic.
That was so epic, yeah. And if I know anything, that sound there at the end is probably the beginning of the next song, because that's how seamlessly tailored this album is. I got kind of an earlier. I think there's been some work done on it before, since then, but I did hear like an earlier version of it, and man, it was already sounding so flawless. Just great work to both of you and to Loam.
Thank you.
Helps a lot on it too. Helped a lot. I guess Loam was, other than like the things that I just heard, Loam probably worked on it as much as you did. Would you say? Yeah. He's partner in it, not just a collaborator, I guess.
Yeah, as a as a thing, PIX3LARMY has been me and Loam. I started grinding out some songs and asked him, if he wanted to join. Like, not, Loam is one of the biggest producers of other people's music on IMF.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted him to get involved, not to produce my music, but to be a part of it.
Yeah.
As we announced on Instagram for Volume 2, RIELLE is going to be another full-time member.
That's exciting. I saw an early, like, we have big news, but I didn't see the news. Did you announce that on Instagram
that's
too?
It was. Yeah. It's a video. I mean, go check it out. Like, if I had it, I would chuck it in there. But it's a kind of amazing video that RIELLE made of herself as Cindy, one of the characters.
I think I did see that. I saw something like that, and it was amazing. If I knew how to use computers a little better, I'd try to find it right now so we could show it on the stream here. But no. I really love that track. Everybody should definitely follow you guys on Instagram and all the other places, because the album's coming. Did you already say exactly when that's releasing?
No, we're working out a couple of things, but it is at this point done, you guys. So you can stop being like, oh man, here he is talking about this thing that's never going to happen again. I am known to do that, but in this case, it is actually done.
What is that again? A comic book? What's he making? What's he talking?
What's this graffiti comic strip he's making here?
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, I don't want to linger on that, but I also don't want to rush you past anything else you had to say about it. But I do want to know more about some of the low points and lessons you've learned creating art, and it's been a long time. But if you wanted to refine it down to more just in the time you've been making this album, that would be interesting too.
Sure. So, I mean, with, in this album, this was an attempt to get back to some music that I've always kind of made off and on, this sort of electronic rock metal kind of fusion, has been a kind of through line of my life, and I wanted to get back to it. There were times, probably the toughest times of it, have been, trying to get these tracks out, and they were fun, but trying to get them put together, and then trying to convince Loam not to stab me through my ear with an ice pick while I was sleeping, because I would be like, oh, there's just the other day, the very last thing that we did, basically, I was listening to a track, and I gave him a timestamp, like 1:16. There's a guitar squank, like the kind of, and he was like, dude, good ears, because I don't think anyone else would have heard it, but I knew that if it was going to be there, and every time I heard it, I would be like, that.
Yeah, it's still not done. It's been released for 10 years. It's still not done.
Yeah. So, those were kind of, I wouldn't exactly call them low points, but they're those points where you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Is this ever gonna happen? I had this fear that it was gonna become Chinese democracy, and that 10 years from now I'd be like, it's coming, you guys. It's gonna happen. You know. But it didn't. It hasn't yet. You know, as long as everything goes good. High points. You know, just working with Loam, like giving him my, you know, the tracks that I made, because for this one, the next one is going to be a lot more collaborative in the writing. But because of the way this worked, you know, Loam was working on his album, Loam Industries Volume 3, like. You know, and then he moved. So there was, you know, for a big portion of this, it was just me grinding this stuff out. You know, but then passing that off and hearing it, you know, hearing what he did to it and taking it to the next level. I said level. Like,
he took, to be fair, he took it to the next level too.
He took it to the next level.
Yeah.
You know, as you said yourself, you know, like you said a very kind thing, which is like, you know, that I'm a decent producer, Loam's a great producer, and like it, you know, we kind of like stack upon each other as we work through the stuff, and that's exactly what happened, because that's what I heard. And then, you know, all the great people that worked on it with us, REILLE, you know, Atlantic Canyons, Pop has something on there, WR, you know, like there, and I'm sure, like, I'm blanking. Wojo is on it. You know, Stripe did something for us. Like, you know, all this, you know, all this stuff, just kind of throwing that stuff in there and just kind of adding little bits that we couldn't have done ourselves.
Yeah. It's kind of, it's funny. It's beautiful, I'll say. That's the word I'll settle on. That everyone who's talked about you, Starcry, has mentioned that you're just kind of a genuinely excited to help person. And now this album,
try to be, yeah.
And now this album that is kind of your baby, you know, has been blessed and cared for so well by so many other people that you've worked with in other ways, you know. So it's not just
the love has been returned.
Yeah, it's not just a representation of your skills. It's a representation of the relationships, friendships, and culture that you have been a part of, you know, at IMF.
Comes back sevenfold.
Yeah, it does, man. It absolutely does. Thank you for sharing that, big time.
Yeah, of course.
And sharing the track. I'm tremendously excited to make my my 16-month-old daughter love techno metal or sleep in the fireplace.
Sleep in the fireplace.
Yeah, who said? I've heard that somewhere. I'm not sure where I've heard that. Probably not somewhere I should be repeating.
Even you, Mr. Archive. Has, you know, has put your own stamp on it.
Yeah, but I dare anybody to figure out what I did on it once it releases, because it's
well, everybody
strange.
thinks we sound the same anyway.
That's true. Yeah, they think I'm the lead singer. I'll take it.
That's all right. It's the Tennessee 2 at it again.
Yes, yeah. Well, I want to be sure that we protect the start time for open mic, which is coming up here in just a moment over on IMF. I hope to see you folks there. I'm sorry to kind of rush Starcry a little bit.
All right, man. I've been on here 3 times, man. That's all right.
Yeah, and you know, let's just say that this means I owe you the 4th sooner rather than later.
Let's go.
But yeah, man.
I'll be your sidekick.
Yeah. Co-host Starcry. We sound the same. It doesn't. We'll both get the masks. You know, it'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be good.
But again, I want to thank you guys very much for being on the show, for sharing your time, sharing your stories, sharing your music, and most importantly, sharing your presence with the community that we have all found to be second to none in artist building, in you know, cultural care for the creative heart and soul and skill, you know, practical skill of the people who adventure to it. You know, big shout out to everybody who stuck with us and listened. I hope they all find more delicious and wonderful music in the near future, and also just in your past releases and things. I'll be sure to link all that everywhere I can. But yeah, this is the end, everybody. Thank you very much for listening. Until we share time again soon, please stay courageous, stay curious, and stay creative. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Everyone, thank you.
Thank you.